This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show.
Hello.
I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband, Joe.
Hello.
Hello. And if you're watching the video version of this podcast, everybody can just take a moment to appreciate my eyebrows. Because...
Nice eyebrows.
I know, right? Brought to you courtesy of the amazing Jane Mann of The Organic Beautician. Thank you, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Because she sends me lovely skincare stuff, and I happened to mention that my eyebrows had turned into hairy beasts that were like rampaging across my face. And I was like, I'm aware that I could pluck them, but we don't own tweezers. And lo and behold, a couple of days later, a pair of tweezers arrived in the post for me because she's a delight. So thank you, Jane. And I now have tidy eyebrows. Which is very exciting. I'm just going to put my phone on airplane mode so it stops buzzing at me. There we go.
Professionalism to the max.
I know, right? And yeah, welcome to the podcast. So today I'm drinking lemon and ginger tea, and you're not drinking anything.
I'm not drinking anything. I've had about 9 cups of tea. There's bingles. What's going on?
Why are there bingles? I'm really sorry. This is just terribly unprofessional. Hang on.
What is happening?
What's going on? Like, okay, bear with this caller. Hang on.
Maybe.
That's fine. I've sorted it out.
Off.
I've turned it off, right. I'm very sorry about that. Let me just... Okay.
Is this the first podcast in
It's the
a couple of hundred where we've had bingles and bongs?
I know. We've been so professional up to now. Anyway, hi, welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. I don't even know the name of the podcast. Yeah, I'm drinking lemon and ginger tea, and this podcast is all about it's writing excuses. My hair's fluffy. It's writing excuses, and today's writing excuse is, I'll never get published. Which is actually a legit thing to worry about.
I mean, that's a reason, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're going to come back to that. But first, what are you reading, Joe?
Well, I'm about to finish book 11, I think, of The Wheel of Time by a chap called Robert Jordan. Although I've discovered that the back end of this whole series was in fact written by another chap. So soon I'll be able to say I'm reading The Wheel of Time by somebody else.
No, you need to stop. You need to stop. Is Whiskey going to join us?
Whiskey's looking for somewhere to sleep.
Oh.
Having had a tough morning sleeping.
She's finished sleeping on the sofa. That part of her day is over, and now it's time to sleep in one of my bookcase cubby holes, I believe. She's now giving me a dirty look because I'm mocking her. Right, I'm just about to finish Only Forward by Michael Marshall Smith.
Right.
Which I've absolutely loved. Absolutely loved it.
Have you?
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Did you not think that much of it?
I kept feeling... Oh, we're going to get interrupted by...
Hi, Whisk.
Hello, cat.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
I kind of thought it was fun and pleasant, but I also felt like there was a point to it that I was missing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Was there a point that I was missing?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
I don't think there was a point you're missing. I've really enjoyed it.
But is there a point?
Well, it's like an adventure mystery story, isn't it?
Okay.
Did you read it while you were asleep?
Well, no. I just kind of thought I felt like it was trying to tell me something or teach me something, or there was some kind of meaning to it. When in fact maybe it's just a kind of silly sci-fi
I think it's a story.
romp adventure thing.
Anyway, so that's what I'm reading. I'm about to finish it, and then I'm about to start a new book, which is fun. And my non-fiction book that I'm reading is Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. And so far, I've only read the preface and introduction, and already I am enraged.
Why?
Fucking enraged. Because it's just epic bullshit. It's like the default...
The book?
No, the book's brilliant. But what she's writing about is just epic bullshit because the default for human is male.
Mm-hmm.
And it just means that all of this data science is amazing, right? You don't... Science just is. You don't get to believe in science, by the way, because I keep seeing people say, oh, do you believe in science? It's like, science is a thing whether you believe in it or not. But the scientific method is fantastic, but it can be misused, and it has been for centuries because the default has always been oh, we're going to do these, we're going to collect data on people. And when they say people, they invariably mean men. And by men, they invariably mean white men. And usually North American white men as well. And this is like a massive problem because women's bodies are different and women's life experiences are different. And so when you're doing it can be irritating when shelf height is designed for kind of average male height, right? That's frustrating. Shelf height in supermarkets and things, that's just annoying. But when the safety systems in cars are designed for male sizes and male physiology, that kills women. So it's that kind of thing that the book is all about. And it's an amazing book. It needs to be read by everybody who has anything to do with data. And it's going to be really, really useful, I think, for my book club people as well, because we will, it's like internalized misogyny and internalized patriarchy, even with women. It's like, because the world that we've been brought up in is default male, that's the default. That's who we write for, that's who we do business to, that's our worldview, and it needs to change. And it won't change until we start realizing all of these biases that we face every day. So it's a really good book, and it's already got me thinking, and I'm only like a little bit of the way into it. So I'm going to devour this book over the next 10 days, ready for the book club. So I'm very excited about it. Anyway, I'm also reading Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad, and that's taken me a little while because I'm working my way through it and doing stuff.
Reading 6 books at once?
Reading 3 books at once, Joe. And the Quarantine Chronicles. What have we been doing? Oh my goodness. So the other day we played Dungeons and Dragons with our actual friends in our friend Ruth's garden. Hi, Ruth!
Hi, Ruth!
And it was so lovely, wasn't it?
So lovely.
It was so lovely to see everyone.
There was sunshade, there was space, and we all sat in a big, socially spaced out circle and played D&D.
We did, and we fended off the Bellevore, who only managed to pee on one thing, and it was hilarious because she's so funny. And so yeah, we did that, and that was wonderful. And we've ordered our new oak windows, and paid the deposit.
The house is going to change.
It is very excited about that because it feels like a long time since we've done anything substantial on the house. We've harvested a lot of courgettes.
We have a bit of a courgette explosion going on at the moment, and we haven't harvested courgettes for a couple of days now. So
we've probably got marrows.
Yeah, there's probably another 50 that need harvesting.
Yeah. But we've been making yummy food, including my first attempt at a chocolate courgette cake, which is absolutely delicious.
Quite rich.
Caused a problem yesterday, which we may talk about in a future podcast. And we've booked a camping holiday for September near Barmouth in Wales, and I am so excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
I'm so excited. Every day I'm like logging onto the website and just looking at a picture and going, So that's going to be really cool. Anyway, back to this podcast episode, which is all about how I'll never get published. And it's a legit consideration because honestly, most people never will get published traditionally. They're just not going to. And that's okay, because you don't need to. And so I wanted to talk a little bit this episode about the various options you've got when it comes to publishing your book. But I want to start off by asking the question, what do you want your book to do for you?
Bring me customers.
Yeah, that's one good thing. Establish yourself as an authority.
Yeah. Become a thought leader. All that kind of
credibility
stuff.
marker. And for me and my clients, and I had a conversation with a new coaching client this morning. I want people who read my book I want their life to be measurably better after they've read it.
Okay.
I want them to be able to read my book and then do stuff.
Achieve the things.
Yeah. So that's what I want. And by the way, before we go on, this is not in any way a traditional publishing bashing podcast at all.
Right.
Because I love trad publishers like Penguin, Penguin Random House and publishers like that. They are fantastic, and they're always going to have their place in the world because they always will, because they've always been there, and that's right. And if they change with the times, then they're more likely to survive. But traditional publishing is not for everybody, for a variety of reasons. Not just because it's really difficult to get traditionally published, but also because it might not be right for you. And I'm going to explain a little bit about why that is now. But basically, we've all got more choices than we used to have. The gatekeepers aren't the most important thing in the world anymore, and that's a good thing, because if traditional publishing had its way, we would never have had the book and the movie The Martian, because that was traditionally published originally. It's a fucking brilliant book. The film's fantastic. I love the film, but the book is really awesome. The Wool series by Hugh Howey would never have been a thing if it wasn't for indie publishing, because he got rejected and rejected and rejected.
So he published it.
So he published it himself, and now he's probably sitting on quite a lot of 6-7 figures. So yeah, there's a few reasons, but let's start with money. Typical book publishing royalties at the time of recording this podcast are somewhere between 10 and 12% of the retail price of the book, right?
Okay.
And an advance is usually around a third of the total royalties that your book is expected to make. Which means, we could do some sums here. Let's say that your book costs £20, because that's an easy sum to do.
Okay.
And you negotiate a royalty rate of 10%, because that's an easy sum to do. And so for each...
£2, I can do that.
Yeah, so for each book you sell, you get £2, right? If your print run is 5,000 and they all sell, your total royalties are going to be 10 grand.
Sounds nice.
Yes. Kinda. Which means your advance, if it's around a third of your total royalties, will be around £3,330, right?
Okay.
And the rest will drip in as and when your books sell. It's not really enough to buy that yacht.
No.
But if you're a typical business owner, like me, and a publisher publishes your book, that paltry royalty advance is likely to be the last money your book ever makes you. Which is a little bit depressing, I think.
Okay.
This is not the case for all writers and all books at all, but for most of us, that's going to be it. And your book is probably going to wither away on bookshelves, because a few months after you've published, your publisher will move on to the next book, because that's their job. That's the nature of their business.
And I guess as well, from the point of view of traditional publishing, the traditional publishing house is after the £8,000 that they're not giving to you.
Yeah, because they've done all the work.
They've done all the work. They've done all the.
Well, no, that's not true. They haven't done all the work. They've taken all the risk.
Yeah. Okay. But they're a business themselves. They need to make money, and you getting what you want out of your book is not really their consideration. I mean, maybe if you're J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, hi Jay and Stephen, but maybe then you get some chance to negotiate and do what the hell you want. But for most people, the book publishing company is out for itself. And
even people like J.K. Rowling and Stephen King, all of their money hasn't come from selling their books. Most of it's come. They sold the rights to films, film rights, merchandise. Yeah, Jesus, I can't even begin to imagine how much the Harry Potter merchandise is worth. And Stephen King's movie merch and movie rights and things as well. So even those people, even the biggest selling authors in the world, a lot of their money isn't going to come from actually the physical selling of the books. It's going to come from other stuff that's peripheral to it.
Sure.
So that's really important to remember. And like we said, the publishers got a business model that involves publishing as many bestsellers as it can. So they're going to take a gamble on your book. They're going to take a gamble on whether or not your book's going to be popular and going to sell, and they're going to put all of the risk into it. So they're going to be paying for editors, and that is one of the upsides, by the way, is you will get amazing editors usually, and amazing book cover designers, and they really understand what makes a book sell and how to position it on bookshelves and stuff like that. But once your book's published and they've kind of moved on from that marketing cycle, they're going to move on to the next book. They're going to be promoting somebody else's baby, not yours, and there is nothing you can do about it because the publisher owns everything, and that's the most important thing to consider.
So you're giving your rights to the book belongs to the publisher.
Yeah, unless you are, again, someone like J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, you're not going to own the rights to your book anymore. You own the copyright, it's copyrighted to you, but the book itself, that's under the control of the publisher. So that means that if you wanted to re-release it, you would have to get permission from them to do that. Even if you want to write a second edition of it, you might not be able to do that. I'm not going to say definitely not, because it depends on your contract and all the rest of it. And so if you do go into a traditional publishing contract, get someone who knows what they're doing to go through the contract and make sure it makes sense for you. That's super, super important. So that's the big giant downside of traditional publishing. And you also won't get, unless you're a big name, you're probably not going to get a lot of creative control over the title and cover and blurb and all that either. Not necessarily a bad thing, because they do know what they're doing, but if you violently object to something, you may or may not get a say in it. It depends. It depends on the person that you're dealing with and a lot of other stuff. I don't think they would probably go with something that you violently hated, to be honest, because they're not going to want to make you unhappy, but it's just something to consider. They will still expect you to do a lot of the marketing as well, so they will do some of the marketing, but authors nowadays are expected to have a big marketing engine behind them as well, and a platform, which you should have anyway, but that's something to consider. So don't expect that you're going to get a traditional publishing contract and then just have to sit back and it'll all happen magically, because that's not how it works. Because part of the thing about getting traditionally published, and I know a little bit more about this now because I've been working with Audible to do my audiobook, is that one of the things they want to know is what kind of a platform have you got? You know,
Right.
what fans have you got? Who's likely to buy your book? What reach have you got? How can you get your book out there? Because they'll do stuff, but you need to do stuff too.
Sure.
And that's sensible anyway. You know, any sensible author would do that. So that's your first option. And traditional publishing might be right for you. And if that's the case, you know, if Penguin knock on your door and say, Penguin knocked on my door and said they want me to write a book, I'd be like, hell yes, that's really exciting. But it wouldn't be the book. It wouldn't be How the Hell Do You Write a Book, for example, the book that I use now, because I need control over that so that I can use it to grow my business. If they knocked on my door and asked me to write a different book about something, I would bite their hand off, because that would be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
So it might be right for you, it might not be. I just need you to think really carefully about what your goal is for your book and what you want it to do for you. And think about what you might want to do with it in a couple of years' time, when you might not have as much control over it as you would like.
Sure.
So this is by no means a don't get traditionally published. It's a think very carefully about it. So option number 2 is hybrid publishing, or I guess I don't know, hybrid publishing, indie publishing, no, hybrid publishing, which is where somebody will kind of do some of the stuff that trad publishing will do, but you pay them instead of they pay you.
Right.
Right. It used to be somewhat spitefully known as vanity publishing. And people still talk about vanity publishing for the indie publishing industry. And those people can, quite frankly, fuck all the way off, right? Because it's nothing but snobbery. It's just vicious snobbery. A hangover from a day of, oh, you can't get published by a traditional publisher, therefore you had to do it on your own. It's like, well, yeah. There's a lot of really good books out there that weren't picked up by traditional publishers. It doesn't make them crap. I mean, some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. So, yeah. The tables have turned. So if you want to make a real living from writing books or from creating a book to help you grow your business, the real vanity today, I think, is wanting the kudos of a big name publisher on your book cover. If that's the only reason you want to be traditionally published, I would have a really good hard think about that, because that for me is the real vanity. So hybrid publishing, though, is you don't get an advance from a hybrid publisher, you pay the publisher to do some of the work. Because in trad publishing, the publisher takes all the business risks. They edit, design, print, publish, and market your book for you, and gamble, layouts, all of that stuff. And they gamble that they're going to sell them by giving you an advance on your royalties, right? That's how that works. With hybrid publishing, you split the risk. So there's a bunch of different formats for hybrid publishing, and you do be really careful. If you find a hybrid publisher, don't just throw money at them. Just check them out, get their credentials, because there are hybrid publishers out there that will absolutely shaft you, right? They will just take your money and then do the bare minimum and run away. So really do your homework, talk to the authors that they've worked with before, because if they've been shafted by authors, those authors will talk about it and be vocal. So just make sure that you get credentials. But the good ones will do a really good job for you. They will help you with the publishing and printing. They might help you do some marketing. They'll get editors in to do things. They know
cover designers. They'll get that sort of stuff sorted. They can do the layout so that it doesn't look like you've nailed it together in Word.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so they will take a lot of the headaches away from you. And they will charge, they'll have different packages as well. So you can do different levels of stuff and find out. And you've got to work out how much money you want your book to make. Do you think it's going to make back the amount of money that you pay the hybrid publisher? If you think it is, go for it, because you've got literally nothing to lose. And the way I teach people to write books is you're going to make a lot of money off the back end of it anyway. So I don't expect to make any money off selling copies of my book. That's not the point.
Yeah.
We've talked
That's
about
not what
this
your
a lot.
book is for.
No, it's not. It's to introduce people to my world and convince them that I'm the right person to help them with their book. And so, you know, if a person reads my book and then takes me up on a £2,500 a month coaching program, that's freaking awesome.
Happy days.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's how that works. And then finally, there is so with hybrid publishing, there's a bunch of different formats for it, but essentially you pay for publishing and printing and maybe some of the marketing as well. Different packages. And then finally, there's self-publishing, or indie publishing as I like to call it. Self-publishing can imply that writing is a bit of a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I work with top quality professionals to produce my books, and this is my business, so I think of myself as an independent author business owner, and I help other business owners and authors to publish independently, so I like indie publishing rather than self-publishing. And it allows everybody who wants to write and publish a book, which I think is a really cool thing. But that does not mean you should do it on the cheap. So biggest mistake a lot of small business owners and indie publishers and indie writers will make when they're self-publishing is doing an amateur job of it. And I've written a lot about this in chapter 20 of my book, How to Avoid Looking Like an Amateur. That's chapter 20, which you can go and buy my book on my website, moxiebooks.co.uk/buy the book. Sounds about right.
Something like that.
So go and read it, but let's go over the most important points. Joe, you can go over the most important points, and I'm going to drink my tea.
You need an experienced and talented cover designer. You need an eye-catching, professional and beautiful book cover. Nothing says this is amateur hour stronger than a cover that looks like you've taken a picture of your back garden, moved it around in Word, stuck some, text over the top of it, and there's your book cover.
And you know what we mean as well. You've seen book covers like that, and you've gone, ooh.
Ooh, don't do that.
Doesn't have to cost a fortune, by the way. There's some great book cover designers out there working for, small amounts of money. You can pay anywhere from, 100 quid to
anything.
A couple of grand. Yeah, anything you like. And also there are some really good cover design software bits of generator now that you can do something, it won't be particularly fancy or exciting, but it'll look good. It'll look professional.
Yeah. You're not going to do it in Word unless you're a designer, You need to be...
The designer wouldn't do it in Word.
The designer wouldn't do it in Word either, no, but at least then it all looks good. You need an editor and you need a proofreader.
At the very least, a proofreader.
At the very least, a proofreader or 6. They'll polish your manuscript. They'll make sure it's as good as it possibly can be. They will make sure it makes sense and that the order of things is good,
Yeah.
Why haven't you spoken about this? Why have you put this bit here? That kind of thing. Structural stuff is important. You need beta readers. So when you're reasonably comfortable, it's been through some proofing, it's had some editing, beta readers.
My beta readers, absolutely. My book would not be nearly as good as it is without my beta readers. They were awesome. They were totally awesome.
People are pretty happy to be a beta reader. I think it's a generous thing to do.
It's a very generous thing to do.
But
and also,
people around there will do it.
People love being asked for their help and opinion, and they also love pointing out holes.
Yes, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You've said this twice.
Yeah. Point number 4, consider hiring an interior book designer, layout person if you're worried about creating a professional layout, because it can be really difficult to do that in something like Word.
There are all kinds of things that you would notice in a book that you will not think of when you are trying to design the interior of your book.
Yeah, things like what page number, what side... Oh, words.
Cheapers. Oh. Which, when you've got the book open in front of you, which page is even and which page is odd?
Yeah. And
do you know?
You might not know, but you will notice if it's wrong. Yeah.
Do chapters start on the left page or the right page? How big whatever that margin needs to be so that you can actually open the book and read it without...
Yeah, really frustrating when you open a book and you can't read the inside edge because the margin is too small. Little things like that. Trim size. Running headers on each page. Make sure they make sense. Running headers are the little navigational things at the top. So it might be like the chapter that you're on, the chapter name that you're on. So little things like that. It's really, really worth getting somebody who knows what they're doing to help you out with that kind of thing.
It is so easy. And you just open a book and you kind of go, this isn't quite right. And it's difficult to pinpoint. Yeah.
But by the way, that is a service that I offer. I can get your book laid out for print and for ebook with a 48-hour turnaround, and I'll do a damn good job of it. And it's 400 quid plus VAT. So if you're struggling with layout, give me a shout. Throw me 400 beans, and I will sort that shit for you. Finally, final top tip, and there's loads more in my book, obviously, but final top tip: find a printer that specialises in books. Like Bill at Elite Publishing Academy. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Don't go to your local brochure printer and expect them to be able to turn out a professional book. It's not fair on them. And you will be really disappointed with the results in most cases because it's just not their area of expertise. Books are not the same as brochures. They are different. So those are my top tips. So it's going to give you a bit of a rundown of your publishing options. You don't have to get traditionally published. If that works for you, then awesome, go for it. But I'm not the person to help you with that because that's not my area of expertise. But hopefully it's given you a bit of an idea. We will at some point I'll get somebody who knows about trad publishing to come on and I'll interview them about what you need to do to get trad published, because, I might go down that route at some point. I quite like the idea of being a Penguin published author. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But for me, that's pure vanity. And, I'll admit that. It would be really, really cool. Okay, takeaway, Joe. What's the takeaway?
Think about self-publishing. Think about what you really want your book to do. What's it going to achieve for you?
Yeah. And then join my Power Hour and start writing your book. So my Power Hour is moxiebooks.co.uk/Power Hour.
Get the stuff done.
Get the stuff done. It's £1, one whole English pound for a 7-day trial. And you get 5 writing sessions out of that 7-day trial.
Nice.
And then thereafter, it's £25 a month plus VAT, which is still a bargain because you get My Brain on tap. And My Brain, for an hour's consultation, starts at 500 quid.
It's expensive.
My Brain is expensive.
Expensive brain.
It's good value, though. Right, we have a review from Jamie Veach. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Do you want to read it out, Joe?
Yes. Reviews. 5 stars. Listen, laugh, learn, apply, grow. Sounds like he's got that painted on his wall somewhere. I've recommended Vicky's podcast now to well over 100 different people when running marketing boot camps and workshops for startup businesses and social enterprises. It's funny, friendly, accessible, and refreshingly free of self-aggrandizement. Vicky's candid approach includes sharing ideas that business owners can apply and being open about her previous challenges or things that she'd do differently. Her rapport with Joe is hilarious. Excellent. And her knowledge and experience means listeners who do the work and implement the ideas she suggests will really be able to grow their business.
Oh, thanks, Jamie.
Thanks,
That's
Jamie.
a lovely thing to say. And it's just more evidence that everybody really loves Joe on the podcast and not me.
More nice things about Joe.
And I just had a few thank yous to make. I wanted to say thank you to my Power Hour founder members for joining my new thing and just really throwing themselves into it and getting amazing writing done, because it's so much fun every morning as well. I just wanted to say thank you to John Holcroft, Yinka Iwola, Steph Benfield, Louise Blackburn, Carol Clark, Karen Jackson, Abby Popplestone, Cyan Mapp, Deb Fanner, Renee Radovich, Jill Robinson, and Sarah Silver. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me every morning to write stuff, even though it's early and stuff, and for joining in the discussions as well, which is so valuable.
Yeah.
Really good fun. Right, next week we'll be back next week with more writing excuses. This time we'll be talking about how I'm not a writer is not a valid excuse.
Okay.
And join my live writing sessions at moxiebooks.co.uk/Power Hour. If you've listened to every episode, email me with your postal address and I will send you something silly through the post.
Nice.
And if you like this podcast, go subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and please leave us a review and we'll read it out.
5 stars.
5 stars. Leave us a review. You can go to moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast to subscribe and share the link and all sorts.
Right.
Right.
That's enough of that.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. As usual, we'd be pointless without you lot. So,
Dear listener.
dear listener. Right.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.